The sycamore trees in the dark trees that blow baby, in the dark trees that blow. And I see you, and you see me.
And welcome to Twin Peaks Unwrapped. I'm your host, Ben Durant, and beside me is
Bryon Kazaska. And for the first time ever in the almost 2 years we've been doing this, we've never had a guest inside the studio. And we do this time. This is amazing.
JC from 25 Years Later.
Hello, guys.
Hello.
JC.
Hello.
How
yes,
exciting.
I'm excited to be here.
Wow.
We're excited to have you here. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, this is something else. This is really special to be able to actually have somebody else here to talk about Twin Peaks. JC, you're involved with 25 Years Later site, and
Yes.
you're involved with the Bookhouse Babes.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us? Do you want to start with 25 Years Later?
Let's start with 25 Years Later, which is I can't ask for a better group of people to be writing with. I wrote, and I wrote on my own blog and sort of stuff, and I wrote some Twin Peaks things when the return started, and then I think it was August. Andrew and Lindsay put out on Twitter that they were looking for writers for the Black Lodge, White Lodge debate group. And so I wrote to them and I said, this is what I do, and I sent them. And Lindsay goes, okay, you're in. And Andrew, you're in. Okay, good. And I started doing some debates. And then I said, well, I have this piece I want to write. What do you think? And Andrew's like, go ahead and do it. And it was my love letter to Dougie. And that piece itself was phenomenal because I wrote it and it really came from the heart because I was a believer that Cooper was always behind there, even before we knew. And then we got the I am the FBI and all that. So I wrote this and I put it out there. And, of course, we sent it into Twitter land and Facebook land. And then something told me, and I don't know why, but I was following Mark Frost and I'm like, tag Mark Frost in this. Just tag it. See, maybe he'll read it, maybe he won't.
Hurt.
Well, all of a sudden I'm at my desk at work and my phone blows up and Andrew's like, go look at Twitter. And I'm like, okay. And I go on Twitter and it's like Mark Frost, really lovely. And it's my article. And I'm just like, wait, really lovely. That means he actually probably read it.
That's crazy.
And it was just great. And I'm like, okay, nothing else is going to top this right now. I'm like, that I got the seal of approval from Mark Frost. So that kind of started it. And then I started writing more and more. And we got into, more theory pieces. Most of my pieces were more character, like kind of character love letters, I'll say it. And then we got into the reincarnation thing that kind of happened by default. John the Peaky, he and I were going back and forth. He's like, you got to write this. This is good stuff. And then it started. I said, all right, I'll do a trio of articles and we'll go from there. And then just recently, he actually scared the heck out of me. But Andrew had texted me and said, Jen, you gotta answer your email. And I'm like, okay. So I get on there and he's like, Lindsay and I have to talk to you. We don't want you to write for the site anymore. And I'm like, what? I'm like,
Your
what?
stuff is so good.
I'm like, why don't you? And all of a sudden, and Lindsay goes, will you please tell her because she's going to have a heart attack? And it says, because we want you to be an editor as well.
Wow.
So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So now I'm part of the six of us that are.
And you've been on the
editors and
show previously to
Yes.
this. Once or twice?
Twice.
Twice. I edit the last piece you were on, and that was like, it was so good what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah, the theory.
the
Cooper's
theory.
dead? Come
Cooper's
on.
dead. And you got to understand. I said it. We were going back and forth and talking about it, and with Eileen Steel Nina, and and we were and because she's my editor, she edits my stuff, and she said, I have to admit, she said, after reading what you wrote, it kind of makes sense. And she's like, you've made me a believer. And I'm like, no, but I know I sort of believe it, but I sort of don't want to believe it. You know, you kind of, it's that sort of piece that it can make you go either way. And you know, that's why the trio, I had to do the trio. And I knew the last one I had to do was, is Cooper dead? Because there's a lot of times now that I go back to the first season, and I rewatch the first season a lot because I'm sorry, I love
So
season
good.
1.
Yes.
Michael Onkeen and you know and Hawk and you know all of them, they're just fantastic. And so I went back and I watched that particular, I think it's May the Giant Be With You or something, and Cooper's laying on the floor, and the whole dissertation with the waiter and then the giant. And I'm just like, there's something, you know, and thinking about it now, and even with the ring and the log lady, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, even now I still think, I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking that could be a good theory. It could be a good solid theory to go by.
Yeah.
Especially the way that Lynch was thinking at the time, I think. I mean, I love Lynch in general, but just now watching him do The Return and bringing it back so lovingly. There's been, I mean, even in interviews and stuff I've watched, and he's been more open than he's ever been.
Right.
Yeah.
Which makes me believe that there's the possibility, like I heard this last podcast saying that you think maybe an announcement can come, and I'm still thinking you guys are probably right on that. Either a movie or series.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I watched Part 18 and literally stood up and said, there's more.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and said, okay, but I'm okay if it ends that way.
Right.
But there's more.
Yeah.
There's more to that story. There's just...
Right. And then you have someone like Sherilyn Fenn who says, David Lynch will do more if people want more. And like there's other people who have been saying it.
Yeah. Because I think there's more out there that he didn't put in. Because and I'll say it from the behind the scenes. I watched one of the behind the scenes, and they have Carol as a giant standing in the red room ready to do something, and I'm like, that means something. And then there was another part of a behind the scenes, and I'm like, nope, there's more there. What I wanted to, not to jump, we'll jump around, but I want to say I was watching one of the ones on YouTube, rewatching on YouTube today, and it was the one where they do the scene with Derek Mears as Renzo and Muddy and the accountant. And I loved David goes, come here for a second. They're going down the stairs this way, right? Yeah. Come here. And it was the guy who plays the accountant.
Yeah.
And he just says, he goes, you're going to stand here. And then he's going to shoot Ray in the leg. And then you're going to say, do you need money? And he's going to say no. And you're going to go down the stairs. And I'm like, was that totally off the cuff? Like, did he just look at him and just pick him out and just say, or was it like, and that's why I love the way he works. I love, and for a couple reasons. One, because he's just as scattered sometimes as I am with ideas, so that made me feel real good. And he has little tics, like his hand when he moves his hand. I'm like, I do that when I write. If I can't think of something, I'm like, I always move my hand. So I'm like, good, maybe I'm onto something. You know?
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have the Bookhouse Babes. And I'm going to tell you, like, the first time I heard of the Bookhouse Babes, it's like, there's some sexist guy who decided to make this name up, and he's such a jerk that he would say, oh, babes, Bookhouse, as a play on the Bookhouse Boys. And then I realized it was women who were putting this together. It's like, oh, wow, this is strong women, and they're taking the hold of this name, and it's theirs. And
Did it happen this year?
It happened this year, yeah.
Okay,
And it happened, like, at the end of the run. Amanda Dugan, who... became my friend via Twitter. We both of us would post similar things, and we would tag Showtime, and Showtime would retweet stuff, and then we followed each other, and she was like nonstop, and I'm like, do you have a job? Like I said at one point, she does. She has a really important job too, which is kind of ironic. But we would talk back and forth, her and I, and I don't know his real last name. I know he went by one time as Tom Caulfield and then Tom Renfield, but we call him the Knight of the Bookhouse Babes now because he's been a big proponent of what we're doing and tries to tag us and stuff and very, pro. But we had some, at the beginning of starting this whole thing, we had some negativity. We had, well, why is it just women? And it's like, what about guys? And I'm like, you have yours. It's called the Bookhouse Boys.
I hate when that happens.
I'm not trying to be mean about it, but I'm
right.
we're just doing it. And then Amanda and I thought, and we were actually asked by somebody who I want to be a part, but I'm not afraid I can be part because I don't want to take away from what you guys are doing. Because I can't think of the word at the moment. What am I saying? Like, like transgendered. So,
inclusive.
yes, you're including of me. And wrote us a private message, and I was really touched. And Amanda goes, no, we're very. So we said, all right, that's it. It's just going to be a group of Twin Peaks fans that still want to keep that magic alive and want to be a part of a fun community that's supportive, and we're supportive of artists, and we're supportive of writers, and we're supportive of anybody who wants to be supported by Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And so we changed it to that, and we wanted to do more community-based stuff. The original idea for the Bookhouse Babes was like, okay, we're gonna try to do T-shirts, and we're gonna give the proceeds all to David Lynch Foundation. And then we're like, okay, and then Amanda found Cafe Press and like, oh, we could do mugs and we could do this. We're still working on that because it's more technical than we thought.
Yeah.
But we want to give all the proceeds to David Lynch Foundation because it is a very important foundation, and we believe in it, and we thought it'd be nice. And then I said, well, maybe we can expand it to even other actors. Charities, because Kyle's involved with his wife's on the board of God We Deliver, God We Love. I'll have to look. We'll look it up later. But anyways, it's a charity in New York City. God's Love We Deliver or something, and it delivers food to families in the New York City area.
Cool.
Yeah, and so and then we thought, okay, Peggy Lumpton's into environmental causes and stuff. Maybe we could choose something to kind of do that. And a lot of our babes too. Actually, one of them was a big supporter of the California firefighters. And what I didn't know till after the fact is she was fighting her own battle with cancer while she was doing this.
Oh, wow.
So, but we supported her, and what started as she wanted $1,000 ended up being $4,000 to feed the firefighters.
Wonderful?
So that was great.
Wow.
And then there was another charity that somebody came and she was auctioning off a script that was autographed, a original Northwest Passage script.
That.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, and he earned a lot of money for his charity. It was her friend's, charitable organization. So we want to do stuff like that. We want to bring more community together. We want to do, like community meetups. Like I talk all the time to everybody who's in NYC because there's quite a few people.
Yep.
And all the time we're like, hey, we got to do this, or hey, we got to meet up. So this is the year. Like I keep getting yelled at by one of the girls, Brett. She all the time, and she's a huge, like if Kyle has a wine tasting, she's like, there's a wine tasting. I'm like, and I can't go.
That's our life.
We wanted to say, we wanted to
well,
say
wait a
that.
second, but the one in September that was canceled, that's the Renzel one, yes?
It's coming in March, supposedly.
Yes, supposedly. All right, so
But
I'm going to that one.
We
I'm
are
still,
too.
yes.
We
Okay,
are
good,
too.
yes.
Yeah, but there was a surprise one a couple weeks ago.
Yes, and that's the one where I was sick as a dog, and I'm like, I cannot get on a train to come, and she's like, I'm going to get Kyle to say hi to the babes. I'm going to, or
I
I'm
saw
gonna,
that.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Twitter.
and she tried to get him to say Jen, but he thought she said gin and drink gin. So he goes, and drink gin. So I joke that that's my new nickname from Kyle.
Now
is
I get
Jen.
it because I watched the video.
Yes.
Okay.
So she was trying to say and Jen. And when she said, he thought she said and gin.
And gin.
So, he tried, but it was great. And I thought that was great. And she got him to do the shout out. So he definitely knows who the babes are. And that's actually how, by default, we started.
That's awesome. The community is amazing for Twin Peaks. It
Oh my
truly
God,
is.
it truly is. So going back, so Amanda and I started. What we did was somebody had said to her, "Oh, you should be an honorary Bookhouse boy," and it was on a post that Kyle was tagged in. So I said, "Oh, it wouldn't be Bookhouse boy. It would be like Bookhouse girl or Bookhouse lady or Bookhouse dame." And then at the end I wrote, "Or Bookhouse babe," and she goes, "Bookhouse babes, I like that." And I said, and then she posted the one where Kyle goes, "Who's the babe?" to Harry.
Yeah.
About Josie.
Right.
And I
Pilot.
said, yeah. So, and who's the babe? And so, and I'm like, and then of course we all started joking. Well, Kyle's the babe, back and forth, and And it went on his thing. But then she wrote me a private message, and she goes, "I keep getting messaged by people that we should do this." And I said, okay. I said, well, what do you want to do? And she said, well, why don't we, put it out there and start a name, start a Twitter thing, and then we could kind of post what we're posting, but just from the Bookhouse Babes account. I said, okay, try it. See where we get. If we get 100 followers, great. Well, 100 turned into 500, and 500 turned into 1,000. We're at like 2,300 followers.
Isn't that
Wow,
awesome?
nice.
Yeah, and it just keeps going and going. And the good part about it is, we're at the tail end. We're at the DVD, and there's really nothing. There's no new Twin Peaks. Yes, 119 is coming, so that'll be good, and we'll definitely be part of that. But it's snowballed into this huge thing, and then and she put out there, should we do a podcast? And there's not many female podcasters, so we're going to try to work on that, which
That's awesome.
we'll talk later.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then because we're definitely going to need the help. And we are now starting a column starting this Saturday on 25 Years Later site. It will be the Bookhouse Babes on Saturday nights. We're taking over for Lindsay, who was Notes from the Bookhouse. And Andrew said, well, let's keep it in the, Bookhouse realm, and we'll do the Bookhouse Babes. So the thought originally was to do it more to be, we could talk about anything Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
I think how we're going to start it off, how I've decided, and Amanda and I have kind of gone back and forth a little bit, is we're going to showcase some of our babes. I want to showcase some of our 25 Years Later site babes because they really were, from the very beginning, very supportive. Laura, Lindsay, and Eileen, and then interview some of the babes that have been pretty active. Like I know I'm sure you've seen her art, Lula, from Italy. Oh my God. I mean, some of her art, I'm just like in awe. I'm like, just it's so inspired, and it's great. And there's a few other artists too that, Ronaldo, I know is going to do something, I think, with Laura's going to do a bunch of artists coming up for the site,
nice.
interview a bunch of the artists, but he ended up coming through with, we did the Golden Kyle. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
Okay,
so
the orb with Kyle's head. He did it for us on the fly.
Yes.
Yeah, because we wanted to do it for the Golden Globes. I don't think Kyle has seen it yet because there hasn't been any kind of. But we keep trying to come on, Golden
You
Kyle.
got to post it the night of the Golden Globes.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
so. I looked at the competition. If he doesn't win, I'm going to revolt because it's and people are like, no, Ewan McGregor. And I'm like, Ewan McGregor played 2 people. Kyle MacLachlan played 6. Okay, can we go with this now?
Yeah.
He played an evil son of a gun that I don't think he thought was in him either. I think
Right.
David knew it was. But I don't think he, even the evil people that Kyle's played in the past, and there has been a few, they were just bad guys. I mean, Mr. C was truly evil incarnate.
Yeah.
Right.
So to embody that and to totally do it in a way where he didn't look like himself. I mean, I go back and watch it now, and it still haunts me. I'm like, and because you see him as Cooper, and you see him as Dougie Coop, and then you see him as Mr. C, and I'm like, that's not him. He's not in there. It's haunting.
It's very
creepy.
impressive.
Yeah.
I know. I thought. We had to wait for over 25 years to see the double, really. And I kept on thinking, can Kyle pull this off? Can he be evil? Because he's always so charming. And
Right,
nice
right.
guy, but
Yeah.
he did it. I mean,
He did, and I think you're right. And I read an interview. He said 25 years ago he doesn't know if they did it right afterwards, if he could have pulled off what he pulled off. I think life experience and trusting his acting and trusting David and getting there, I think really allowed him to kind of do it. But everybody, it was without missing a beat, and that's what the behind the scenes I think showed. Everybody was just so eager to go back to work.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, when Cheryl sees David for the first time and that part, and even some of the new guys, I loved the conversation with him and Jim Belushi on the phone.
Oh, God.
Where he's explaining everything. And I'm like, and it was so, and the way people say, well, David doesn't explain anything. I'm like, but he does. He does it in a way to make you feel the story. And I watched the scene with Matthew Lillard, and I forgive me, the other actress's name that plays Phyllis. And that scene and how they rehearsed it. And he's like, no, you got to kind of, slow down and start from here. And then, and it was just really, he really, I've been on stage before, and I've had directors that tell you nothing, and I've had directors that overact, direct you to a fault. Boy, would I love to work with this man. I'm just part of me is like, come on, still do stuff because, or Joanna Ray, call me because I don't care if I'm an extra in the back. I'll play a statue.
Yeah.
I really would love to just tell me to go stand in a corner and just be there. Because I just want to be part of this. It's just such, just such an experience.
And how he has to explain to these guys who come on stage, and Belushi. And those two come on stage, and it's the story arc. They're filming the tail end of their story arc
at the very beginning.
So he has to give them all this history of their characters.
Yeah.
But I love how they're asking questions.
Like Nepper saying, well, maybe we were orphans and we were apart. And
Yes.
he's like, no, you're brothers through and through. You're brothers. He's like, you can think that in your head, but he says and I was like, that's really
and
wow.
you have each other's back no matter what. But I love the questions they ask. It's like this sandbox, a playground, and they want to be part of it. And they're like, we can just come up with anything for our characters because they're so fresh and new.
Yeah.
And it was really cool.
Same,
Isn't it crazy that we get to even see all this behind the scenes? Like they never showed that with the first season or the second season.
I don't think they did, even on any of the gold boxes or anything. They didn't show anything
they did
behind the scenes. Well, until Richard Beamer showed the behind the red room, which, like I said, I think I seen some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah. I mean, and Richard back in season 2 did the photography. I mean,
Yes.
he just did his photos and stuff. And
Yeah.
this is just this Blu-ray and DVD. He's now going in for the new season 3 and just showing the red room, and it's really good. And for me, it was kind of like, there was question whether there was digital curtains and stuff like
It's
that.
all real.
And they're not. It's all real.
They're not. It's all real, and it looks like from these documentaries, it look like people are just moving the curtains around manually.
Yeah, to make the whoosh,
Yeah,
the ominous
and
whoosh.
stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, because they're filming in such high resolution. It looks
Absolutely.
so good. But when you first see HD for the first time, it looked so fake.
Yeah.
Now we're so used to it.
Yeah.
Seeing the red room,
Right.
you're like, is this CG'd? And then you're like,
Well,
wow, it's beautiful.
How about the water scene? I didn't think it was Kyle going into the water. I thought it was they cut it and they put something in the water and then it was CGI and everything
But he
else.
really
And
jumped in the water.
But he really jumped in the water.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I love the scene where Cheryl's up in the thing. That's not going to work. He's like, well, you could stand on one side of her and I'll stand on the other. We'll just shake her and
right.
pull her up. And I'm like, no,
We
David, that's a
can't do that.
stunt. We can't do that. I was just laughing. I'm like, oh my God, it's so funny. Or the part that really got to me that I was like, oh God, this man was. They told him that he wanted to spend a week on the set with the giant, the Silencio cabaret scene, as I call it. And he's like, God damn it. He's like, I don't have time. He goes, I want to be dreamy. And I'm like, I have no time to be dreamy. And I'm just like, it's just brilliant.
Because he's
I'm
like, I could spend a whole week in there.
yeah, exactly.
And they're like, no, we need to keep it. And then he was getting frustrated.
Yeah.
This is bullshit.
And we recently talked with Sabrina, and she felt bad that every day she couldn't just let Lynch be Lynch and do his own things, but she did it. You had a schedule.
You had a
to do
schedule
it.
and you had to keep to it.
Sometimes
Yeah.
you could let him go and play, but there's a lot of
Right.
times where you just had to keep moving on. But it was interesting. That was like one of her, in a way, her regrets that she couldn't let Lynch play every day.
And I think you could see it in some of the scenes where she's behind him and he wants to do something, and you see the look on her face. I'm like, God bless Sabrina. I'm telling you, I envy that woman. That woman. I did a post out of the Babes, and I said, if Mark's the archivist and David Lynch is a dreamer, then Sabrina is the glue that holds both together.
Yeah,
Because
that's
she
nice.
really is. Without Sabrina, that people should thank Sabrina more often than they should, because Twin Peaks came because she. Yeah,
I believe that
She
too.
was the glue, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
You got to have that numbers person. You got to have that person that's like in a stick.
Yeah.
Because if David Lynch had his way, it would have been Inland Empire all over again, and it would have been taking years to
Yeah, I mean,
make.
like 10 years.
And it took years to
Yeah,
make. That's
yeah.
why
Like 5
everybody's
years, yeah.
afraid. They're
Yeah.
like, okay, if we wait, like, what's going to happen if he really wants to do this? And I'm like, I don't know if it's going to be the same. He may be writing now and we don't know. I mean, he
feel
could
like
be
I bet
talking to
you
Mark
Frost
and
him-
we don't
yeah.
know.
My gut tells me they are, and I feel like it's
I
going to
really
happen a
think
lot
so.
quicker because they've already got the people that they've worked with. I feel like they've.
And he knows. I mean,
Yeah.
he can. His foundation is running well, and a lot of people said, well, he's into his foundation and everything else. He is, but he's got, Meditation Bob, as he's known on Instagram, but Bob Roth has definitely come to the forefront and taken the foundation places. So I really think I think he's in a good creative zone right now. I think I think he feels the energy from the fans. I mean, we feel the energy from the fans.
Definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing watching Twin Peaks now with the community as it is and social media the way it is, because it's really expanded for me. I mean, because I had no friends who watched Twin Peaks when I watched it. I mean, mind you, I was young when it first came out. I mean, I was a theater kid, and some of the theater kids watched it, but mostly everybody was like in Rocky Horror Picture Show and that sort of thing, and that's great too. I believe me, I love me some Tim Curry as Frankenfurter, but yeah, I didn't have anybody to watch Twin Peaks with. I mean, ironically enough, my mother let me watch it, and she liked it, so we would watch it.
Yeah.
And then of course, as soon as Cooper hits, with the Diane and the whole monologue, and I was just like, and I remembered Kyle from Dune. I mean, I was a Paul Atreides junkie, Wow. But anyways, and I watched it and I'm like, this character, and it was more than, okay, he's a good looking guy and yes, and everything else. But that character, there's something about the character of Special Agent Dale Cooper.
Yeah.
And he even says it. It's one of his all time favorite characters.
Yeah.
He did a Facebook question and answer, I think, back in July, and one of my questions got answered, and it was, what was it like coming back to, and what was your favorite? Oh no, what was your favorite memories from the first season? What was your favorite memory that you could tell us about from filming The Return? return. And he said just being the Cooper, being the character and playing off of Michael on Keene and doing all, the fun, the coffee and the pie and everything else. And he said from the third season was just walking back on and being able to embody that character since he was so fond of that character.
Yeah.
But there is, I mean, like you ask anybody and like people say, oh, they like, Bobby or they like Shelley or they like, but they'll all say, but I love Cooper.
Right.
Yeah, everybody loves Cooper.
And he says that some of his inspiration is for David Lynch, so he takes the essence of David
Absolutely.
Lynch, and you can totally see
and you
that.
could totally see that in the behind the scenes. You totally like with the coffee and all right, maybe not the cigarettes, but the coffee. And it's so funny because I'm like, I love the scene now where he says to Laura Dern as Diane, he goes, well, I quit, but he takes the drag anyways. And I'm thinking, and he's smoking the whole time on set. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He'll just smoke. He smokes like a chimney.
Yeah.
Right.
Him and Sherilyn Fenn were smoking.
Yeah, we're smoking when they were talking to each other, which, it's funny. Sherilyn is very active on Twitter, and she posts a lot. She'll repost. And she actually used Lula, one of our babes, pictures that she did as her profile pic recently. But she's funny because I was watching in the behind the scenes, and it's like you could totally sense where there may have been some inner turmoil.
Well, there was.
Which there was.
Yeah.
And then I think what ended up happening, and people were pissed that her character got kind of shafted, and I don't think she did.
No.
I go back and I watched that scene with Charlie, who's Andrew's favorite. We have running jokes about Charlie and being sleepy, but anyways, I'm so sleepy. But anyways, I go back and I watch that, and then I watch the scene, the Roadhouse scene.
Yeah.
Which was brilliant.
Yeah,
and I mean,
good.
Vulture, thank you for picking it as one of the top music moment because it was iconic. And I mean, Angelo's score, and you got to hear it again. But when they said Audrey's dance, and I'm just like, and I'm sitting there going, that's not what it's called. I mean, it's called that in real life, but it's not called that in Twin Peaks. It was just that music. And she goes and she does the dance, and then the thing, and the whole time we had all speculated 25 years later within the walls that, and Lindsay was a big proponent of that the Roadhouse was some sort of
dreamy world.
Yeah, like a dream world, or it was recognizing something else. It was going on Twin Peaks, not exactly what was going on.
It was almost soap opera-ish.
It was the invitation to love. I thought that. I'm like, it's totally invitation to love with these characters. And David wanted to use a lot of the people that he knew, like Scott Coffey. I mean, that was and stuff. But and then she wakes up in that white, and I'm like, okay. And then we read the final dossier, and it's like, I'm not giving spoilers. Do I have to say spoiler?
No,
or is it out enough that I don't have to do that?
I don't think.
Okay, I think. Sorry, people. Read the book. In the final dossier, and it says how she was in an institution, and I'm like, okay, did David keep that from Mark? Was that something Mark came up with and he kept it, and then Mark kept it in the book, or do we believe that she is in a lodge area, which could be too, because they played it backwards at the end with the credits, and I'm the only place they play things backwards is in the lodge.
Right.
So
she got the most mysterious part of the season,
right?
Honestly,
right. The cliffhanger of all cliffhangers was her,
right.
and I think that is an homage for David saying, "Here's she really is," and we knew we needed to do something to honor that.
We found out the original part she was supposed to do. She was going to be playing. You know how the grandma, her mom, is the one who's beaten up by Richard.
Oh, it was supposed to be Audrey?
Yes.
At least that's what they've said, right?
Yes.
And at the same time, Mark Frost has said that she also was going to be a hairdresser.
Like in the book.
But I think the script actually had that as well.
Really?
So, and she didn't like that.
She was upset because she did not want to be that character that's going to be beat up by her son.
Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to be either, even for David. I mean, I think there's something,
yeah. So I agree.
So I agree that that they honored her then correctly. Then if that's the case, and and whether she got people angry or not, I mean, there's something to be said for violence. And in this one, I mean, this Twin Peaks was more violent than any of the other ones. I mean, that scene with the child, I can't not watch that scene over. I watched it the first time. It bothered me so much. I slept in bed with my son that night. I don't know if I could ever go back and rewatch that particular part.
Yeah.
But other parts I can rewatch till the cows come home. 11 I could watch over and over again. The cherry pie with the heartbreaking and the and the little casino jackpot lady and coming up to Cooper and stuff. That whole scene. But there is, it's funny, and I want you guys to go back and look at this because I said this in one of our conversations with our crew, and people are like, no, I think he's just saying he's not saying anything. When Cooper as Dougie Coop, because he's still there, is sitting with the Mitchum brothers, and the lady comes over to him. When he hears the music and he picks up his head and he looks up, he almost mouths, "It looks to me, Laura." Or something. He says something. He mouths something up into the air, and he's looking at something, which makes me believe, is he in the Red Room at that right there, to me, helped me write the reincarnation, because he's looking at something, and it's almost like he's somewhere else.
Just like you see his face superimposed
over the
end.
clock.
It's almost to say like he was there, but he
was living in a dream.
You're living in a dream.
Right,
you ever have a dream where, like, you fall asleep to the TV, and that stuff leaks into your dream?
Right.
That's exactly how I would think about it. Like, it's real life melting into where he is, and I totally get that.
Yeah, somebody had commented on my piece and said, "Well, is your only reasoning for picking this is because I said at the end how he ends up with Laura whispering in his ear." And he's like, "Well, is that the only reason? Because it's that picture." And I said, "Oh, that's not a photo. If you look, he's moving."
Oh,
and
yes.
when they
He's
bring up the
moving,
credits in the end, he does the what again in that scene.
Yeah.
Which makes me believe he always, and that's why I said he always ends up back in the Red Room. Which the whole, I still think, people are like, no, the dreamer is this. I think that we are the dreamers. I think that the Twin Peaks community and fans are the dreamers. Because we could dream up whatever we want to, because David has said that himself. I'm not going to spoon feed this to you. You're going to come up with your own deductions. Which is true.
Yeah,
but
that's great art. Great art.
Absolutely.
You look at it and you try to understand it. It's interesting with the Red Room. There was never a music in the air. Like, it's always, I don't understand. Like, where we come from, there's always music in the air, and it was funny how there was no music ever in the.
That's not true. In season 1, if you ever notice the scene where Laura and Steph, the arm, right? But the evolution,
Little man from
the
another
evolution
place.
is arm here, but the man from another place. Thank you. He dances to Dance of the Dream Man.
Oh yeah, for season 1 and 2, there's music in the air because we have
but not
sycamore
trees
and
Yes.
stuff like
right,
that.
sycamore trees,
I'm
but
just
that's
talking about
not
season 3.
Oh
there's
yeah.
But
No,
there was
there
always
isn't.
music in the air in the original Red Room.
There was,
Yeah.
because that's Dance of the Dream Man by far is one of my favorite pieces of music
it's
of all
so
time.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
so good. I mean, back when I was 12 and heard it for the first time, I started choreographing a piece, which I'm still to this day because I can't figure out how I want to finish.
Oh wow!
So it's like the ongoing piece of 25 years of like a notebook that's like crumbled up with like dance, things in it.
But there you have the Bookhouse Babes, and you guys can like do a whole number.
Exactly, it's true. It's true.
You could.
I may get Kimmy to come out and do some high kicks.
That would be awesome. That would be something. You mentioned that kid who got hit, which is such a devastating scene. What's bizarre to me is that I don't feel like the town was shaken up by that. We had like the original Twin Peaks. Laura dies, and the whole town is touched and feeling it, and it was weird.
But we didn't stay in the town enough to know that.
No,
Maybe.
and there was so much weird stuff going on in the town. It's almost like everything that Cooper was doing elsewhere affected the town. Like because of what he was doing to change things. Because remember, we've watched this and they put it in this order, but that may not necessarily mean because I was thinking there was a whole theory that I was thinking about, and then I'm like, no, I'm wrong. Yes, I'm right. No, I'm wrong. And I didn't write it down, and I don't think I even. Hey, this is going to be breaking news. I don't even think I mentioned it to anybody on 25 Years Later site. I think that the return starts with Cooper getting out with Mike. And so 18 is 1.
Wow.
18 is 1, and he saves Laura.
Yeah.
And then Laura goes to a different place, and then he ends up at Richard. And when he says, "What year is this?" It's gonna totally like kind of screw everything up. But this is how I felt when I watched it again. So 18 is 1. He goes back. He says, when he says, "What year is this?" I was under the deduction if we don't go that Cooper's dead. If we leave that theory out, there was a theory on Reddit. And I read it, and I'm like, that makes sense. It was when Carrie hears Mrs. Palmer, when she hears Sarah go, Laura, and then the lights go and the house goes, Laura wakes up.
Yes.
And
That's how I
with school, and then it starts all over again.
Wow.
So, and that's when people are like, no, Lynch destroyed it. Season 1 doesn't exist. Laura's and I'm like, no, because if he does that, then it's the constant. It's infinity. It all goes in a circle.
Right.
It comes back again.
It's interesting
like
because when I finished Twin Peaks for the first time and watched Fire Walk with Me,
it's only a couple of years ago.
I was in Ben's neck of the woods. I was in East Hampton, and I was at a park, and a gigantic piece of they cut a tree down, and they framed with all the rings of the tree. It was big.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. I'm like, oh, that's Twin Peaks. It's a circle because you watch 1, 2. Fire Walk with Me. It begins at the beginning but ends at the ending, brings you right back to season 1.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you watch it again, and it's like a prequel sequel.
Right.
It gives you the past and the future.
Right.
Yes.
But it goes circle. And then when season 3, you have Jeffries give us the infinity symbol.
Right.
And
Right.
3 is that extra circle now. Now there's more. But it does. I feel like his work, it just goes in
Yeah.
a circle.
Yeah.
It leads right back. So you're right.
Yeah, I think
you could watch 1 through 18, and
Right.
18 could go wrap right around.
Yeah,
Right.
In May, David Lynch said that you didn't have to. He was making.
You didn't have to watch it in succession, right? You didn't
Yeah.
have to watch it in order. And
No.
I even think that he even believed that because like New York could have happened at any point. It didn't
Yes.
have to be first. I mean, it could have
Right.
been, but or look at it this way: if you lay it out. Everything could be going on at a similar time. So, like Las Vegas is going on with everything's going on in Twin Peaks, while everything's going on in this and whatever. So, if you're watching it from that standpoint, then really everything goes together all at once. And then, 17. I've seen it a couple ways. I've looked at 17 as that's Mark's ending, and David's ending is
Yeah.
18. I've looked at it as 17 is the ending to the return, and 18 is the beginning of something else.
Season 4.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, season 4 or a movie, whatever,
movie,
whatever
yeah,
they
season
want to
4
do.
movie, yeah.
David will take anything you want to throw
Yeah.
at us, Mark. I've looked at it a couple ways, but I kept going back to the fact that because he ends up back in the Red Room after 18, and Laura was there when she was in Fire Walk with Me. She was in the Red Room at certain points. So and she,
Yeah.
and Annie says, write it in your diary and the whole thing. So if Cooper was always sort of in there, if he's the magician and he kind of
Yes.
can go there, then it could be that they wake up and it's fine. She wakes up for school, and then Leland kills her another time, or
Right.
Yeah,
or I have to admit, I do not like the whole missing Laura, the whole
Yeah.
that she's missing and not dead.
No, I don't like that either.
I sorry, Mark. I know it's artistic license and whatnot, but we had big discussions about this because it was like it took away Laura's trauma and what she went through was so much, and it almost kind of it takes that away.
yes. Which
So-
is
True.
the whole point of the Twin Peaks.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sold on that, but but like I said, well, we don't have to really count that because if the way we see things, we could see
Right.
it in a different.
That's how I
sense.
see it too with that
Right.
book.
And it's funny,
Yeah.
in 18, I felt like she would have changed it if Cooper had taken her away, and I didn't believe that actually things had changed. And
Right.
then Frost definitively says, oh no, things have...
No, and I mean, and David
Yeah.
showed it by showing Pete and Josie, and there's no body on the beach. I mean, but like I said, if this is how the reincarnation fit into it, why I started the piece, because I said, okay, if Laura recognizes her trauma, there's a part of reincarnation where you recognize that you are reborn. So, okay, if she was reborn as Carrie Page, but you can sometimes recognize, you could recognize your prior self. So if she recognized that's why Cooper brought her back, thinking that maybe, I think it was more for him than for her,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, and the only thing I have to go back to is they underutilized Ray Wise. I wish he had more lines than just find Laura. I mean,
Right.
the man is brilliant. He's a big supporter of the Babes. Huge supporter of the
I
Babes,
was
and it's great.
disappointed, but what's interesting? They used him perfectly in season 3 of Fargo. He was amazing in season 3
Yes,
of
I have
Fargo.
one episode left. I know.
He's not in the last
Don't
episode.
say anything. Yeah.
He's not in the last, but he was so awesome, and he played this mysterious character.
Is
Yeah.
season three the one with you and
Yes.
McGregor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And Marianne
And it was
Elizabeth
so
Winstead.
good because his character shows up once or twice, and it's just magical.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
He's so
why
good in
is he
everything.
not
In
in
more?
of Twin Peaks?
And it's so funny. I think before the series came out, he was like, he was saying, I don't know, it was a Comic-Con or something. He was like, I'm going to be in all the show. I'm going to be in 18 parts. But he said that. It's like, oh, he's going to be in it a lot. And
yeah,
he was just lying to us.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I
just
think he was setting it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was a
but I mean,
for
it is a
disappointment.
shame.
Yeah,
And
Ray.
you're talking about-
Thanks.
we were talking about the Red Room. It's interesting. I don't hear many people talk about this, but so Cooper comes in, sees Ray Wise, and he gives the line at the beginning of the series. And at
to
the
find
end of
Laura.
the series, Cooper comes back, but he comes in a different direction.
And he doesn't see him. right? At the end.
Or
Yeah.
I think he sees him again, and I think he does the same line. I think he gives it "Find Laura" again, but
No, not at the end. He does not. He goes by and he walks past, and the tree talks about the little girl down the lane.
yeah.
That's the only part
But
of
it's-
that. And then
and
he goes out, and then
Right.
he's
In
out.
the dialogue,
But it's interesting. He's coming from a different
repeats
direction
from the
too.
first episode to that.
It does.
Yeah.
Which I think is supposed to show that that infinity, that cyclical nature.
Except Cooper does this in the curtains
Magician,
open.
right? He's
definitely-
people listening don't know what you're doing, Brian.
he's tickling the.
He
He does the
curtains.
David Lynch.
He's doing the David Lynch hand. That's right.
He does the David Lynch
It's like
hand.
wind in the trees.
Yeah, and the curtain opens. I mean, it was cool.
To me, he was like almost empowered. Like before, he
Yes.
was trapped, and now he can
He has-
go in and out.
He has more
Because I
knowledge.
think, and that's why when he asks, and there's your other theory. He asks what year this is. What year is this?
Yeah.
If he's truly the magician, he could get them out and in. And maybe
Yeah.
that's why he has to go back to the Red Room every time, and every time he goes to a different empowerment.
Could be losing something.
He could be losing. I mean, look at poor Jeffries ended up in a teapot,
Uh-huh.
which I have to say, and I'm sorry, David, because I know he gets mad at that it's
Yeah.
a teapot, but he did it. I watched the behind the scenes. I'm like, you wanted this spout. I'm
Right.
like, and then he says, I wish I never did the spout because.
Yes. Everybody's calling it a teapot.
And actually,
It was
it
cool,
looks like
though.
an old-fashioned percolator. If you're really going to go like the fish in
Yes.
the percolator, it looks like an old-fashioned percolator coffee pot. So there you go. It kind of
Yeah.
comes back. There it goes. It comes back to
Right.
damn fine coffee.
Yeah, I liked what he did with that. But to go back to Cooper, though, the ending, I know Ben and myself, we talked about this. When he turns around and Laura screams and disappears,
Yeah.
we saw it as a failure that he couldn't change the past. And I know a lot of people said, this is him changing the past. But I'm like, it's giving us a what-if scenario.
It is.
And he tries to, and then she screams, and I kind of felt like she screams because she goes back. She cannot be saved. You cannot change it. That's how I see it.
No, and that's how a lot of us see it. I mean, like I said, I see it so many different ways. I mean, you could drive yourself crazy seeing it so many different ways.
But that's what's great about the site. You guys have so many cool theories, and
we're all different. And we all
every day we get
Yeah.
something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always thinking and always.
That's what I love, because there's no wrong answer. I was slightly intimidated. I was intimidated. Our first movie we did was Mulholland Drive, and I watched it and I was like, oh my god, I don't know what to make out of this. And
Did you really? You didn't know what to make out of it?
I didn't, because I was just like, because I was nervous, because we talked about the show and it was our first movie.
Yeah.
And I was nervous because I'm like, okay, I could come on the show and say what I think, but I'm going to sound like an idiot because everybody else already has their theories from years and I got nothing. But so I went on YouTube and I found this piece of David Lynch, and David
He gives you 10 clues, right? Or he gives you 10?
no,
Oh, okay.
this mom and
Yeah.
her
He was an
son.
audience. He was, like, talking with the
a
audience,
Q&A.
yeah.
And there's a mom and a son, and the mom's like, me and our son, we just watched Mulholland Drive together. And it was like, wow, that's interesting.
That's
Watch your son.
Wow, Mom.
Yeah. And she goes, we want to know, what is it about? And he gave such an amazing answer. He was just like, what do you think it's about? I don't know what it's about. Whatever you think about. And
Whatever you think about it is
Yeah.
right for you.
Now, was this the
basically.
first time you had watched it too?
No,
You had
Ben-
watched it several times?
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters
Yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
All right, and this
Yeah.
was the first time you watched it?
Yeah. But that gave me the understanding of Lynch, because at first I'm going at this going, whatever I say is going to be wrong because everybody already has a definitive answer. But when I watched that, I'm like, oh.
So what did you, honest to God, because I hadn't watched it before now, and I wrote a piece on it for 25 Years Later.
Oh, God.
Called Learn Lynch. And it was Lindsay's favorite movie, so Lindsay and I sort of watched it together. We were going to watch it together on this computer thing that we could watch together, and then she couldn't get it to work. So she's like, all right, I'm starting it now, you start it now, and then we'll talk afterwards. And
Oh,
I'm like,
cool.
okay. And I had I'd never seen it before. I knew
Yeah.
it was supposed to be like the pilot to, after Twin Peaks and whatnot.
The Audrey story.
And how long
Right.
ago was this that you did this? A few months ago? Or?
Yeah, it was like last month.
Last month.
So you're new to,
Yeah, so
I
it's
watched
new-
it
yeah.
last year.
Yeah,
year
so I
before.
was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
new to
yeah.
it, and
Yeah.
and I knew pieces of it because it's Mulholland Drive for crying out loud. I mean,
Yeah, I heard the chatter when it came out.
right,
I
and
was-
Rebecca
yeah.
Del Rio's singing "Crying," which is what at Lorado. I mean, absolutely brilliant. So, and I've seen that before, but I'd never watched it. And Lindsay goes, "What's the first thing that you're thinking?" And I'm like, I love the way Lynch's mind works. That was my first thing.
Yeah.
And then my second thing was, I said, it's his take on Hollywood and the machine.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a dream. I think that it's showing the beginning of someone's career and the end of somebody's career.
Yeah.
And I think that in the middle, and you don't see the middle part. He does not give you the, the clean version. He gives you a choppy version that Naomi Watts' character, is the ingenue that comes to Hollywood and wants to make it, and then, gets in with a crowd. And Rita is everything that Hollywood is, the underbelly of Hollywood. And same thing with Adam. And then, when they turn over and it's, Diane, it's showing how you get burnt out, you get chewed up and spit out. And I think it's because the way Lynch felt about how his history in Hollywood. Because I really think that the Angelo's and Den Hayeda's characters, with the coffee, and where Adam says, "You will," that girl when she comes in. Yeah. I think that was his way of saying what Dino De Laurentiis and his sister told him about Dune at the time. He wanted to do so much with Dune, and they wouldn't let him, and he realized quickly that he wasn't going to be able to make the film his own. And I think that's what that scene signifies. And I think that Michael Anderson's character, being in the room with the curtains, and they go, it's like the man behind the money. It's like the money talks, and what he says goes, and that's how Hollywood is. And I also think that the being, or what, with the box is Pandora's box, but I think it's just what it says. It's Pandora's box, and the critics are what the characters, the characters at the end that come underneath the door and kill her. It's what people think about you is what's going to kill your dream. Wow. It's and I think that character, that bum or whatever it is behind Winkies, is essentially a portion of Diane. It's like what you become. You're thrown out and you're just left there.
Yeah, you're chewed up and that's it.
And that's it. And you're done. And you
maybe
tend
your fears that you're not you're
right. That
nobody.
you're not right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I thought. And Lindsay goes, "Wow." It's like, you didn't think it was a dream, and I'm like, no. I'm like,
wow.
I didn't. I mean, I could see how people would think that.
Yeah.
But I felt it was a total take on with the cowboy and the way that Adam had the girl.
Scene.
That's a great scene.
It's a classic. It's so good. I can watch it over and over again.
That's Justin Theroux.
Yeah.
Like, they forget that. I think people underestimate him too. I mean, look at The Leftovers. But,
he's an amazing actor. Amazing.
Right. But he's in Zoolander. He plays the DJ in Zoolander, and he helped Ben Stiller write that. So he's likes this slapstick comedy type stuff, but he likes this serious kind of strange stuff. It's great.
Wanderlust was his
Oh my God, he was great with the yogi. He was great in
that movie. I can watch that movie a million times. It's hilarious, and he's great in it.
Yeah.
And he was briefly in Star Wars. He was.
Yes, I heard this.
He was the code breaker.
Oh, the code breaker.
But,
right.
but they never
in
get
Last
to him.
Jedi?
Yeah, but he's
I
literally.
haven't seen Last
He's
Jedi.
literally.
No. You could tell. I read all the spoilers. I'm that person. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be able to see it off the bat. I knew the spoilers were going to come out. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go see it anyways, and I'm going to enjoy it because I'm a true Star Wars fan. I know people are pissed at.
I saw it twice. Ben
It's
saw
so
it
good.
twice.
We've seen it twice. I think it's better the second time.
Ryan Johnson loves Twin Peaks. Did you guys not notice in the scene what's the planet with the red planet where they walk in the red? He was inspired. That whole if you read, there was an article I read. He was inspired by 3 things: the staging of Madame Butterfly by a certain choreographer, the Red Room by David Lynch and Twin Peaks.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And there was a third. I forget what the third one was, but Ryan Johnson specifically with that scene in mind. The Kylo and
Kylo Ren and Luke
and Rey, where they're fighting in the red and the black and everything.
Yeah.
That scene.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, okay. With
I think that's
General Snook. There's
Snook,
a red
yes,
room
where there's a red room. That was inspired by Twin Peaks. He said.
Okay.
So
All right, let's get him on the show. We'll talk about Twin Peaks.
I know. I was saying we have to do that.
Well, no, you know what's interesting though. I will say I'm going to connect Star Wars to Twin Peaks right here.
Okay, go
because
ahead.
what Johnson did,
yeah.
No, off mic, but Johnson he took Star Wars and dissected it, and he took it apart, and he gave a huge spin to it. And it's very divisive. You're going to have fans on one side who really hate it. Some fans are really going to love it. I really love camp.
I love it.
Did you
I
love
think
it?
it's great.
But
all my friends,
But Twin Peaks, season 3 is almost the same way.
It was very much after the finale.
Very divisive.
Very divisive.
You have people who were pissed. Then you have people who loved it, and you have people who had to mull it over, and that's perfectly normal. I haven't talked about this, but it's something I've been thinking about. Season 1 and 2 didn't just belong to Lynch or Mark Frost. It belonged to everybody.
Harley and
Harley.
Yeah,
It belonged to
Bob
a
Engels,
Diane Keaton directed an episode.
Yeah,
know.
which
And
I think she did a.
I actually think that wasn't a bad episode. I really
mean,
don't.
the cinematography and the style of it, I think. I know
great.
people think it's too silly, but I think she had a great
think she did a
eye.
good job.
Yeah, I know, because Ben told me afterwards. He asked, "I'm like, I love this episode. I thought she did an amazing
And
job."
you actually, I remember you saying that it's like she's as good as Lynch
Yeah.
and stuff.
Right,
at the,
right.
Yeah.
I'll defend that because she's an artist too.
Oh, here comes the hate mail.
I know.
no,
No, we do not like Diane Keaton as a director.
I think she
season
did.
2.
I think she did a great job. But seasons 1 and 2, to me, belong to this larger community where all these writers and directors came in and they put their stamp of approval.
Right.
They put
Absolutely.
their stamp on there, and that's what made the dialogue, the memorable, the donuts and the coffee and all that stuff. And then season 3 comes out, and it's just like Johnson with Star Wars. It's like Lynch and Frost only, and they dissected it. All those things you loved, you're really not going to get much of that.
No.
You're going to get something else. You're not going to get the donuts and coffee. You're going to get that maybe once in a while, but
Right.
it's not about that anymore.
Well, it's
It's a different language.
it's a different language, and I think he, in a sense, said, and he did this with his message with Cooper and Laura, and you can't go home again.
Yeah.
It's not the same, guys. It's not 1990. You know, like I wanted to say that to a bunch
What
of people.
year
They're
is it?
like, you know, I had a fight with somebody, and a troll that trolled and said, "This is the worst. It's not. It's horrible." And I'm like, "What's horrible about it?" And
Yeah.
well, it's not the same. It's not. It's 2017. Of course, it's not the same.
Yep.
Come on,
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Like, let's
It's
be
so
honest
true.
here. Like, I did a tweet at one point during the run, and I said, "This Twin Peaks is not what we may have wanted, but it's definitely what the fans needed." And it got retweeted a million times, and Showtime retweeted it, and Kyle, and he retweeted it himself because I had tagged him and Showtime and Lynch and Frost and a bunch of people in it. And it's true because, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like when I heard it was coming back, I was like, I don't care what they give us. Like
Yeah.
they could have given me Kyle in the Red Room for, entire things, and
Yes.
they had different, had porgs come in or whatever, not to, but you know what I mean. It could have been anything to me, and it would have been in a way something great because the love was still there.
Yeah.
And I think David did show that. He did show some nuances of the love. Norma and Ed.
Oh.
Come
Yes,
on,
that was
Nadine
amazing.
and Dr. And Dr. Jacoby, Dr.
Yeah.
Amp
that
at the
was
end.
that stuff was a great
Throwback. There's
yes.
your throwbacks.
Yeah.
The cherry pie in the box. That was a throwback. The fact that Cooper's still cherry pie and coffee was his thing, or coffee with Phil Bisbee in the thing, and the way he sipped it and was so involved. There's your throwbacks. There
Right.
was to show that Cooper, which is why from the very beginning I'm like, Cooper's in there. I'm like, it's not. You can call him Dougie Coop fine, or you could whatever, but that's Cooper's in there, and he needed the time to be able to get to where he got. I didn't think he would have electrocuted him to do so, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, but no, to go back a couple.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rewind a little bit.
Rewind.
No, with David Lynch dissecting Twin Peaks almost and give us a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Like my favorite line out of the new Star Wars, Kylo Ren says,
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to. It's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
and I was like, he's literally talking to the audience saying that we're going to change it up. And I feel like with the new Twin Peaks, it's almost like, yeah, this is, like you say, if you want the original, you have to
Go watch
it.
the original.
Like
Go
when
watch,
people
yeah.
are like, this is not the Star Wars I grew up with. Yeah, you got 3 movies. Go watch them.
Yeah.
And this is something
Right.
new. And Twin Peaks, I kind of feel like if you want that, go watch it. If there's a season 4,
Yeah.
do you have any if
Feelings
you
on where it's going to go?
no,
Or
if
wish-
you-
yeah.
wish list? If
Wishes?
you, like I've in my mind, I'm building a wish list. But if you could put together yourself, if you were saying season 4 is going to happen,
Yeah.
my wish list. What are the couple things you would like to see happen if you can make it happen magically?
Wow. That's
I can
such
give
an
you-
open-ended question. It's not even funny.
Jason, you want to think about it for 1 second, and I'll give you something?
Yeah,
or-
yeah. Give me.
All I'm going to say is I would love to see Sarah Palmer and Laura Palmer confrontation. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like they were building to it.
Yeah, I think they were building to it, and they should have done something.
Right.
They should have. I mean, they had her destroy her picture.
Yeah.
But they,
Yeah.
I mean, there needed to be, and that I have a problem with too. Not to steal your thunder there, Ben, but people have this thing, and it's funny. Gisela, who's one of our writers, has been going back and forth with these silly memes about, but like Sarah Palmer's not Judy, ha ha ha, or breathe, Sarah. The jumping man isn't Sarah. Judy is not Sarah. Maybe the essence of somewhat of Judy, if the jumping man comes from Judy or Jaude or however you want to call it. I'll say Judy because it's out there.
To me, it sounds like Jaude is in essence, it's a thing.
It's
not a
thing. I don't.
person.
Yeah, and
It's evil that people do. Men
Right.
do, yeah.
I think Albert was right on the money. I think Bob was the evil that men do. I think that this Judy is comes from the ultimate evil, which was the nuclear explosion in 8. But I don't think the frog moth is Judy, and I don't, because now that we know that Sarah was the frog mouth girl, which kind of changes everything up anyways. That kind of got me. I'm like, no, but it explains so much now.
Right.
With Sarah having visions and telling Major Briggs, Cooper's in the whatever.
And the voice coming out
the
of
voice
Sarah.
coming out of Sarah is very, But the fact, because I'm sorry, when Mr. C walks down the hallway to go see Philip in the motel with the bosomy woman, who was a great guy actor. I looked that up after because everybody was like, that woman was very. I'm like, it wasn't a woman. But anyways, but when they show the jumping man and they show Sarah's face that's Sarah's face. It's Sarah's face.
Yeah, we saw it.
It's Grace Zabrowski's face, and I will take that to.
We've gone
Right. I mean, it's her. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, that means that the frog moth thing is essentially the jumping man, which is essentially possessing Sarah.
Right.
But I agree with you. I think that I was looking, but I was also looking for the showdown between Cooper and Mr. C. I wasn't.
Yeah, what kind of competition was that, too,
I'm like,
right?
I know that, and Lynch came up with it. We saw it, in the behind the scenes. He said Freddie and this and that, and I think it was because I don't know why. I really don't. I don't know if it's because you're supposed to think that when he's Richard, that's essentially Coop together. So it's like the good Coop can't touch the bad Coop.
Right,
Because
that's the only thing I
essentially if he
can think
does
of.
that, he'll destroy himself. I don't
Right.
know. So
It
it's kind
was-
of
I
like
get it.
Probably, I mean, the one I have to do my review, my rewatch of Twin Peaks season 3 yet. But for me, Friday and the Green Glove, it just hasn't sat well with me yet.
no, I know, and it doesn't sit well with a lot of people. I mean, I think Jake it did a great job. I liked,
no. I mean,
and I liked the little the nuance with him and James, and it gave
was great.
James something.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a thing there, and telling the.
I didn't sit well in a sense of storytelling because we all thought it should be the two Coopers.
Yeah.
And you can't just beat up Bob with a green glove and call it a day.
Right.
I don't think Bob's dead. You can't destroy evil so easily.
Right.
Cooper was just murdering people by arm wrestling them
Yeah.
and doing some crazy. They were showing us these powers he had.
Yeah.
That he just shows up and Freddy's there. Now, granted,
Well, remember, Lucy shot Mr. C.
That's the other thing. Yeah, Lucy something.
Well, because she was the purest of heart, so maybe it's trying to sense that Cooper wasn't the purest of heart, so he couldn't defeat his evil self.
Yeah,
I don't know.
to go with your angle, and
Because
I
mean,
look at
the
that
whole
way,
time.
too.
I mean, look at season 2. They gave the whole, Wyndham, and he cheated with Caroline, and he was always this thing. So I mean, he wasn't the White Knight that. We always thought he
had
was,
a White Knight
kind of
complex.
He did very much so,
But he wasn't a White
wasn't a
Knight.
White Knight. So
Yeah.
maybe he wasn't the purest. And I just,
That's a
I'm
good
sorry,
point.
I love the love when she shoots him, and she's like, I understand cell phones now.
That's
I'm
awesome.
like, I'm sorry, that was the most brilliant. Whether it was ad libbed or added at the last moment,
That was the
brilliant.
payoff.
Brilliant. That was the
Because
payoff.
There's actually fans who were like, "What is this whole thing with Lucy not understanding technology in the beginning of the
Yeah.
series?" I
And
think
I'm
people.
like, well, it's because you had to follow it all the way through. I mean,
Right.
but people are like, but she's working on a Mac, and I'm like, well, it does. Things happen. It is the future.
With Lucy in the cell phone thing, I was like, my first impression was like, why is Lucy so dumb? She's not dumb.
Oh, she's not dumb.
She's not.
No,
dumb.
but when she didn't understand cell phones, I was
Right.
like, why is this bothering me?
Well, but remember,
But I had the payoff.
yeah, it had the payoff.
I
but, I mean,
had
this
this-
is Twin Peaks,
I
people.
know.
I mean, this is not like. I mean,
We're still having fun with it.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's not where we are, where where people are. I mean, there's technology there's places where people don't understand technology. So I mean, I could see it being untouched, like it wasn't supposed to be this.
Yeah.
She was untouched by it all these years, but then she understands the internet, so it's kind of like,
Right.
So I see how you could get,
But I'm saying
you-
Lucy was a very smart person in season 2. She was manipulating two guys. I mean, she
Yeah,
was
yeah.
really.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
She was.
She's smart.
Yeah.
She's smart. And I'm saying, why is she being why?
Well,
Played.
here's the interesting thing. In the
Yeah.
missing pieces, there's a whole scenario where she's on the intercom, and I think Harry and
Yes.
they're all
Yeah.
doing it, and she's calling them, and then she gets spooked because they come upstairs.
Yes.
So it's still the same type of thing that she's having
But it's
trouble.
cell phone.
Yeah, but it's cell phone, right?
yeah.
Instead of, and it's
Right.
also not Harry. It's the Frank, which
Yeah.
I mean, God bless Robert Forrester. I mean, he really, and I loved the behind the scenes with him because he really wanted to know things. And
Right.
It's like, okay, you're going to do this and this, and
Yeah.
I just, you know what
I
bothered
miss
me
Harry.
too. You gave me so much Hawk in the beginning. You gave me that he's important to this and he's going to find Cooper, and then at the very end, he comes up and what's going on? And I'm thinking of all people to know what's going on.
Hawk, he knows.
He should know that there was, and he knew there was 2 Coopers. So when they said,
Yeah.
no, that's Cooper, and it's like, that's not Cooper. And I'm just like, and then then Cooper comes in, and I'm just like, why? Give me more Hawk.
This
like,
is
he should
why
have had-
we're in a dream because
Hawk would have,
Hawk knew about the lodges, and when he's talking to Truman about the pages, I'm like, tell him about the lodges, and he's just like.
And he was like basically
I
in the
can't
woods, and he
remember.
saw. It seems like he saw the
Yeah,
curtain.
see, and that bothers me. That whole scene bothers me because it's like, was they going to go a completely different way because they have, and was he supposed to, like, my thing is at one point when he meets Diane, I'm like, no, he was supposed to meet Hawk. Part of me was saying that scene was shot 2 different ways. One of them was with
I like
Laura,
that.
and one of them was Hawk was waiting
Right.
for him.
I
Because
can see that. I could totally see that.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't know because it's like, or was at different times. Like, did he not come out at the right time? Because remember, there is a right time.
Right.
So was because Hawk went up there and saw the curtains.
Yes.
The curtains are seen.
Yeah.
And Margaret told him to go there. So it's kind of like, you know, I wanted more for Hawk.
Well, see, here's one thing about Hawk. So we're in the police station, and they're all there, and Cooper says things are going to change, and he looks right at Hawk,
Yeah.
and Hawk seems to be like, "Yeah, I get it."
Yeah, he
Uh-huh.
gets it at that
Yeah.
point. So I'm just like, yeah, things may change, and I hope to all see you again. And right there, I was like, there's got to be more.
Yes.
That they're going to go back and they're going to go to this alternative and maybe stuff we saw in the town, like the sparkle stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And stuff happens while the
I like that.
change, I wanted to know what happened to Becky. Sorry. I love Amanda Seyfried. I think she did a
Yeah.
great job.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to know Red. That's
Yes.
the one. Let me tell you something. From the very beginning, I'm like, and I thought I was going to say Red was the magician or a lodge being of some sort because the way he talked about magic and he talked about show tune.
The King and I.
The
Yes,
King
the
and I,
King and
which
I.
I was like, huh. I'm like, Leland used to sing show tunes.
Right.
He was evil.
And
Red's kind of evil, and he's talking about show
That
tunes.
was kind of a
like that.
letdown because they built him up in that one big
Scene, yeah, with Richard, yeah.
And then he shows up and steals Shelley away, and we're like, God darn it,
Yeah,
and
it's-
never see him again.
right. Balthasar was underutilized because he's actually really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love and Lost Highway.
Yep,
And-
yep.
Yeah.
We'll go back to season 4. If I had a dream for season 4, I would love to see where he fit into this whole thing,
Right.
or did he fit in at all, or even, I mean, kill him, do something with him, but show me
Yeah,
what he
yeah.
was all about. Did Stephen really die? Poor Stephen, the high school graduate that he is. I'm sorry, Andrew, I'm stealing your joke. Andrew jokes about that all the time. Well, he was a high school graduate. Yeah, yeah.
And James has $12.
And James has $12. That's right. Shelley and Bobby, that should have been Endgame. Come on, people.
I really thought that
know.
Shelley was going to see Norma and Ed, and she was going to be like, you know what? They have such a good thing.
That's right. I
had
need to
such
go
a
back
good
to
thing
Bobby.
with
Yeah.
Bobby.
Her character didn't grow any. I mean, it just went from I was married to Bobby, we had a kid, maybe married, I don't know.
Yeah,
they had
I
a
think they
kid.
were. Yeah, because she was Shelley Briggs.
Okay, you're right. And then all of a sudden, I'm back. I'm still working in a diner, and I'm still going for the bad boys.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes no sense.
Which makes me believe that there could be alternative timelines or something that Cooper is doing or in the Red Room is affecting what's going on in Twin Peaks, because especially that scene with Billy. Mm-hmm. Did anybody see Billy? And then you look, that definitely was not a glitch, because people are like, oh, it's a glitch. No, it's not a glitch. If you look, there's
still
different
haven't seen
actors.
it.
Oh, you have to look. There's different actors sitting at different tables, sitting at different things. It's completely.
It is a strange
literally
scene.
flips, and it's just a quick thing. And the same thing with Krista. When she goes into the room after Albert walks in with the Laura Donna scene, when she goes to reach from the door glitches. Most times I watched it on my iPad because I watched the first episode in my bedroom with my husband, and I forget what scene it was, and it was really loud. Yeah, the Mr. C's music.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The boom.
American Girl.
Thank you, American Woman by the
Yes.
Muddy Magnolias.
Yeah.
That's what.
Slow
Jeez.
Down, which is awesome. So good.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I was like, and he was like, "Can you go watch this downstairs?" And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." And then after that, I wanted to be in bed. I wanted to be comfortable because
Yeah.
downstairs,
yeah.
I'm all cold, and I'm like, "All right."
It's still better than a phone, so I think Lynch
Yeah, it's
would
better.
at least prove,
At least better. But I noticed certain things.
Did you notice the glitch when Mr. C shoots her in the head and the screen literally
Or it's like almost like a
glitches?
jump cut glitch. Or,
It looks like a glitch out of the head, like it cuts, and I'm like, is that my TV? And I watched it again. It happens again. I'm like, That's weird.
Well, see, and I saw a
very
glitch.
weird.
I saw a glitch too somewhere where it was with Tom Size. Was it a Tom Sizemore scene? It was something where the green. Remember when he sees a green and it's a liar? I saw green somewhere else, and I'm like, is that a glitch or is that actually something in there? And I haven't seen it since, and I've rewatched it, and I'm like, all right, it may have been my thing, but it would it superimposed a part. I was like, do I have to go back to that? Like maybe it's my own brain telling me you got to go back to that part.
I feel like the more we watch, we're gonna see
the principal's wife was it your theory that she could be a tulpa? Was that what you're thinking?
Yes,
I think it was
because
why?
Well, because there was that weird glitch and. The bullet put this hole in the head. It was like this massive.
No, but it
she
was
also
through her,
seemed to be working for
was
Mr.
through
C.
her, it was through her eye. If you look, when she's
I'm
down, it was
thinking
through
of
her
what
eye.
I'm thinking of Daria under the pillow.
Dario under the pillow, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it was through.
But she was
through her
working for
eye.
Mr. C.
And
so
it
he
was weird, and this weird glitch happens when he shoots her. And if
It might just be a style.
I'll have to.
glitch,
Yeah, it could be, or I could. I'll rewatch it for you. Just to
nothing's
see.
done. Everything's done with a purpose, though.
Yeah,
so
no, I know, and that's
yeah.
true about Lynch. I mean, look at how the other scene I was going to say, the behind the scenes that I loved about him. I need a dozen eggs. And I need a couple cans of cream corn. And then he's like doing it, and he's massaging it into the hole, you know.
I
and
loved it. I loved it.
And then he's like, and I need black tempera and some water. And he's just like, and I'm like,
I love it.
I love it. It's like,
I know. He
you
ups
know,
everyone's game.
He really does. I'm sorry. You could say what you want, but Lynch is by far one of the best directors out
Yeah,
there.
he is truly amazing. I mean, just to go back to my question.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. I know we're getting off tangent.
I've been thinking about this. I'm like, if they did a season 4,
Okay,
and
yeah,
Lynch
season 4.
was like, this is going to take a long time, guys. Honestly, I would like it if he allowed Mark Frost to direct a couple episodes. And hey, get Harley Payton involved. And hey, maybe go back into that well and have those people come back.
See, that
JC
won't
is
happen.
shaking her head.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head. That won't happen.
I know it won't, but this is my fantasy
No,
world.
I know, and that's
He's too
okay, and it's
involved.
okay to do
Yeah.
fantasy. Yeah,
But
no,
this is why I would like it, because he is the artist, and you need someone to dissect it sometimes. And Mark Frost, his episodes were fantastic in season 1.
No, they were. They were.
And the writing. I mean, we wouldn't have the Audrey stuff that we got if it wasn't for Harley Payton.
Or he did every day treat yourself. Every day give
This
yourself a
is-
present.
This
was
is
Harley.
stuff we
was
still say.
was that Harley?
That was
That was
Harley.
Harley.
That's one of my favorite quotes
But
ever.
we,
for the run.
I would, this is all fantasy.
Okay,
this is not going to
fantasy,
be
yep.
my fantasy. Have Harley come back. Have Mark Frost direct an episode. Have David Lynch direct the first episode. And then you have Mark Frost and Harley come in or someone and dissect what he did. Because I think, to me, I love that stuff. I love when
Lynch
someone else has
Lynch
to.
is so involved.
This is
He
why
would
my
not-
fantasy.
That's why-
I know
that's
it's
a
like
fantasy,
This is
yeah,
my
I know.
fantasy. I would think would be so cool. And don't
Right.
give us 18 episodes. Give us 8.
If you're gonna have your fantasy,
That's my fantasy.
Your fantasy. Originally Steven Spielberg was gonna direct the season premiere of the second season, so
But it didn't happen.
He didn't, but he would have done it.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
Spielberg.
Steven
Get out.
Spielberg. Yeah, he wanted to.
Well,
think
I mean,
Harley
hey,
Payton knew his
anything's
wife.
possible because
Yeah.
they wanted Lynch to direct Return of the
Star
Jedi.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
But
So-
he thought George Lucas was obnoxious in his convertible.
Yeah, I think he was talking about.
Well,
Wookiees,
come on
but-
now.
Yeah.
Let's be honest about George Lucas. As much as I love the man, and he did create one of the best, franchises of all time. He got a little crazy there with the prequels and.
Yep.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. And not to go on a Star Wars tangent, but I'm really quick. You could edit this out.
That's
The
fine.
thing that got me about people getting mad at The Last Jedi, it was because what JJ did for The Force Awakens. I think that if you had somebody else direct The Force Awakens and make the story different, and it was different to begin with, there wouldn't be such pushback on Ryan now that he made The Last Jedi different.
Maybe, yeah.
Because, and this is my fear.
He took
you
a left.
Right, he took left, and now you got JJ coming back doing the third. That's a fear of mine because you're going to go from, okay, Force Awakens, which was a good, solid film, I will give it. And then you got this, which I think I will like because I'm not under the deduction. I didn't read any of the expanded universe, so I don't.
You don't need to.
Right.
But
right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
JJ
don't-
set it up. What people were mad at, JJ set it up. And then,
made it just like A New Hope. So it's kind
Yes,
of like it had that
right.
same feel.
Yeah,
It's
but
true.
for me, it was pure
Oh, it was-
nostalgia. I loved it. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
but he did it in a way that honored it. Whereas going to Twin Peaks on this, and this may actually
yeah.
work, Lynch couldn't do that. He couldn't go back and do nostalgia because of season 2. And even though that's your dream to have everybody in
Yeah,
that, and
yeah.
like
That's
it was,
my fantasy,
but
yeah, yeah.
because Lynch was so involved with season 1, and season 1 feels very Lynchian. It really does.
Yeah.
Season 2 does not, even though he directed the first episode and the last. Those are the only things that feel true Lynchian, and everything else is kind of a nice blend, which believe me,
Yeah.
I enjoyed. But I'm thinking
Except in
that's
that second quarter.
Well,
you know.
yeah, after Lost Souls or after Leland's demise.
Yeah. And then it goes. And he comes back.
And that,
I say there's gems in every episode.
There is gems.
Yeah, there is gems in every episode. I mean, come on, Dick Tremaine, let's go. Come on, Ian Buchanan is by far, and I knew him from like General Hospital when he played.
I shouldn't say yes. I know that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
Ben.
God.
Oh my God, no.
And his pants were so high.
Oh my God, it was so funny. And and Billy Zane, okay, John Justice Wheeler, okay.
Yeah, Billy's fake hair.
But it's like. They could have done something with his character. That really bothers me because I didn't hate him. And I know why they brought him in, and I know why they brought Heather Graham in, and people are going to hate him.
I love Heather Graham's character. I like
Say
her
it, JC.
I didn't
you know what I mean? Like, no, Audrey should have been Miss Twin Peaks. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Kyle.
She even gave a better
whatever.
speech. She even gave the best speech.
Laura Flynn Boyle and whatever, making it all ruined and everything else.
I know. Well, we
and
talked to
everything
Cheryl
else.
and Friend about that, and she's
not happy with it.
She wasn't happy with it.
Well, she wasn't happy with it because it's like if you look at the way they brought Annie in, she wasn't that much older.
No,
and
right.
so
She
it
wasn't.
bothered me that it's like, Audrey was a high school girl, but she was 18.
Yes.
So come on now.
And
Like,
they were all
come
high school
on.
kids. They were all 18 or 17 years old. Shelley's a high school dropout, married to
Leo.
who's probably in his mid-20s.
I would say
Late,
mid
yeah.
to late.
I did like Annie.
I don't hate Annie. I don't get me wrong because I mean and I
Billy Zane's character for me though kind of went
what?
flat because I thought the dialogue got really bad with him and Audrey. She's like, I'm a virgin.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, this
okay.
is bullshit.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
I hated that. Like, I thought it was garbage.
Yeah.
Whoever wrote, I'm like, I probably Harley wrote it, but
Oh.
whatever. I thought it was horrible dialogue.
Carly's gonna listen to this and get mad at you.
Yeah. He's not going to come on the show anymore.
he's not.
He says,
But
that's it for them.
It was my least favorite. It was just so cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Like if you heard that dialogue in a show today, it would be all over Twitter going, "What the frick?"
Yeah, it's
it would be
true.
like, "This
It's
is
true.
garbage," and it was. It was
it's
bad
true.
dialogue because I didn't think they knew what to do. They didn't know what to
didn't.
do.
They didn't because the story was supposed to go a certain way, and then
That would
somebody
have
put a
been
kibosh
that would have
on it.
been Audrey and Cooper, and Audrey saying that to Cooper, and that would have been worse.
No, I don't think that would have happened if
Right.
that was Audrey and Cooper.
But Audrey did show up in Cooper's bed naked.
That's what I mean. So I'm like, that's why that you're right. That scene did bother me with JJW, but I
like they didn't know what to do, and I
they
understand.
didn't, and I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Well, I understand
was-
it to a point, but it's like, you know what, actors, stop interfering with your significant other's like acting gig
Right.
because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
do think that if that was the case, season 3 would have went completely different.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have killed Audrey.
Right.
Annie wasn't necessarily killed, but we don't know what happened to her. But whatever.
She's fine.
She's fine.
I'm fine.
I did like that in the book, though.
No,
That was
I
my
do.
favorite
Yeah.
part of the
I
book.
do.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I actually, Obnoxious and Anonymous is trying to do the fan film, and he's
Yes.
looking
Yeah,
for
yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah.
And one of his things is How's Annie, and I'm like, okay, I could see that from a certain point of view. Like, yeah, you could go there with that. So that could be something that could be really interesting.
But what I understand
Yeah,
is like
we know-
we got it in episode 29, the last episode. Cooper says, "How's Annie?" Doc says she's in the hospital, she's
and that's
doing
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So like I don't know why so
Yeah,
many
why-
fans for 25 years have been saying, "How's Annie? How's Annie?" It's
It-
like
it's
we know
because
how Annie is. She's in the
Yeah,
hospital.
she's fine.
Yeah.
She went. I'm fine.
Fine.
Because a lot of people. I mean, even there's people think that she was sent because of the way that it worked out. Excuse me. That she was a lodge character. That she was there. She was somebody sent from the lodge to get Cooper to come into the lodge.
Interesting.
But you know what? Here, I mean, Annie does play a pivotal role. I mean, the fact that she shows up in Laura's bed and says, "Put this in your diary,"
Right.
That's a pivotal role right there.
Right.
And that's time travel. She traveled. She was in the lodge because
Through a dream.
In a dream, and she showed up in Laura's bed in the past.
Here's the funnier part I think about the lodge, because if you look at everybody who was in the lodge, now in a dream is different. Okay, so Cooper dreamt it and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But anybody who's in the lodge is dead. Let's think
good
about
point.
this, people. Like,
Is dead or isn't dead?
is dead.
Is dead.
Leland. Everybody who dies goes to the lodge if they have. Okay, we know if they have the owl ring, they go look at Ray and
Yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah,
okay, Leland, Laura, Maddie, Caroline. Now Wyndham walked in to the lodge.
Because he was looking for
Thank
a
you.
He was
Right.
looking for a portal, but that's why when I went to the whole reincarnation thing, I'm like, Cooper's dead because he's in the lodge, and that's why I thought Annie was dead, because I'm like, she's in the lodge.
Yeah.
So because before that we had not seen anybody except for like lodge beings. Okay, the giant and stuff.
Was she in limbo though?
Well, that's what I mean. And the lodge to me it is sort of limbo. Lodge to me is like I mean I grew up Catholic, so forgive me, but purgatory.
Yeah.
It's the waiting room before you go to heaven or hell.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why Bob taking Wyndham's soul in season 2, like you can't ask for a soul, but I can have his. He takes it. It's he was in limbo and he's gone.
He's
now.
gone now because it's like flatliners. You can't just get into there.
Yeah.
I have something that will contradict this though.
Okay, good.
Major Briggs. I mean, Major Briggs.
Yeah, but I don't think Major Briggs was in the lodge.
Well, maybe
He's in the zone, Ben. He's not in the lodge.
Wait,
He's
it
in
was the zone?
In season 2, he seemed like he was taken to the White Lodge, or it seems to be.
Yeah, but I didn't say the White Lodge didn't allow for
you
people.
said the lodge.
I said the lodge. I'm saying
The
Black
waiting
Lodge,
room?
the waiting room, the
room?
waiting room, the
Yeah,
red
the
room,
black
the red
lodge.
room.
We all kind of agree, and I'm assuming you agree that what we saw was the White Lodge.
You were talking about the Purple World?
The cabaret, is that called Silencio? Club Silencio?
Yeah. I kind of figured that was the White Lodge because we saw the
or
fireman.
the mansion, as David calls it, right?
Yeah.
He called it the mansion.
Yeah.
It was the purple, but it made me believe that the purple room and the stuff that the giant was doing, the White Lodge was the mansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Other than that, what was your fantasy for season 4? What would be your fantasy?
All right, fantasy
you
for
can make,
season 4.
Be like me. It's not going to happen. But
No.
What would you want to see happen?
You know, I'm willing to say I would buckle up and take anything. You know, like I'd go anywhere. Would I like to see more of Twin Peaks proper? Yeah. I mean, I liked the New York storyline. I'd still like to see how that plays out and why there was a glass box.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I really want to know.
We think Mr. C is the one that put it there.
Well, they seemed to say, they implied that.
Yeah, they implied that. Yeah.
I thought he was trying to capture Judy.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't.
think so?
I think he was trying to capture Cooper.
Okay.
I think he knew Cooper. I think he knew that Cooper was going to get out some way, and he was trying to catch his other self.
I thought the same thing, but then the whole coordinates thing, that makes no sense.
Also, there was
Yeah,
people
but I don't think the
Dougie's
coordinates
place.
were to Cooper. See, I don't know if necessarily the coordinates were to Cooper, and I don't think those coordinates. I know he ended up in front of the sheriff's station, but I'm not so sure that
because the lodge put him there.
Right.
Which is interesting.
So-
the lodge
so-
could have kept him in jail. They put him in that box.
Right, and then they put him right in front. But
Yeah.
But see, it was all a setup because remember the giant set up Freddy to destroy Bob.
Yes. There was pieces in play.
I would like to see where Audrey is. If she's indeed in a lodge or just in something.
Yeah.
And I want to go one further, and I want Audrey and Cooper to at least see each other and say hello or do something if they can't be a couple. Or
Yeah. I mean, I won't.
That was a missed opportunity having those two together.
Yeah, in some shape or form, and especially the way. And it's funny. I love the way that they marketed it because it looked like it was going there, with her leaning on his shoulder for the the EW cover.
Yeah, that EW cover
stuff.
really.
Yeah.
Well, it was a cover, but it really set expectations.
It's not like they
different
told the EW like, oh, here's what's going to happen. Here's the plot. So they probably just
They probably positioned how it was being nostalgic, and
Right.
it gave everybody that nostalgic feel. Yeah.
Yeah, they sold it on that.
So I would like to see that. I actually, people are probably going to kill me for this, but I don't care. I would like to see how the Dougie that was sent back to Janie E and Sonny Jim ended up doing.
Yeah.
Did he have the
have to
same?
imagine.
Did he have the same luck that Dougie Cooper proper had?
Yeah.
Because remember this Dougie is made out of good Cooper.
Right. It's like
So
Cooper
is-
2.0.
Yeah. So is it better? Could Lynch really throw in a twist and the good Cooper is with Janie E and pretending to be Dougie, and the other one,
Right.
Richard is a form of Mr. C? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm happy. I like that. I was telling Ben before, I'm like, Cooper, he's going to end up with that family.
A lot of people thought that, and I think I remember listening to the podcast where you said that, and I'm like, that's not a bad idea.
But then he got
either.
his doppelganger
Yeah, to do it.
to do it. So
Yeah, like I said, I think I would like to see more Twin Peaks proper. I'd like to see more what happened in the town a little bit more than are things that Cooper did affect. Like, okay, Cooper changed it up. He says, "I hope to see you all again." We see all these people; they could be completely different.
Wow.
Let's see what life is like in Twin Peaks after he pulled this. Now that Laura's missing, and Laura's been missing. Take some of Mark's final dossier, take some of, take some artistic freedom, Lynch, and go in there and say, okay, this is what Twin Peaks looks like now.
Right. That'd be cool.
And again, people may be upset, it may be divisive, but it would
be
give
different.
us something, but it would be different,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be the same old, and he could sink his teeth into it, and people can play different roles, and,
I would like even a movie. I mean,
I would
think a movie
take
would be
anything.
I would
cool.
take a movie.
Yeah.
I also been thinking about is Mr. C really dead? Like, we see him in a chair and
No.
on fire. Like, who's to say that for some reason
No,
he got...
Bob went up. He ascended, and I think Bob still is out there.
Oh, Bob's
He-
out there.
Bob's
Well, I'm
still out
talking
there,
about
but
Mr.
yeah,
C now, the
Mr.
dog.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like he's dead.
Well, it's almost like or in torment or in hell.
Yeah.
He's just going to sit there and burn for eternity
Back in the lodge,
because
maybe,
Right.
or whatever.
because because I don't think you can exist without your other half.
Right.
So the
Yeah.
other half has to be in the lodge, and they know that Dougie was created with a purpose. That's what Mike said. So that other Cooper's got to stay there for the other Cooper to be out in the world.
Well, Richard has a little melding of everybody.
Yeah,
So Richard is maybe them melded.
Yeah.
Richard and Linda. You
Yeah,
know?
interesting.
I don't know. See, so many questions. I think this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
So,
it has
JC,
been.
what is next
Yeah.
for you? What's next for 25 Years Later site, and what's next for Bookhouse Babes?
Oh God, there's so much. Well, stay tuned to 25 Years Later site. So we're going to continue to, we're going to do a whole Learn Lynch on Thursdays. I believe it's Thursdays. Andrew's going to kill me if I don't get that right. But yeah, I think we're going to go and delve into more Lynch movies, more in depth. Bookhouse Babes every Saturday. There'll be a column from the Babes showcasing other Babes, maybe talking some theory, maybe different community projects that we want to put out there and publicize. Hopefully some merchandise from the Babes.
Cool.
Cool.
We're going to try to get some T-shirts and things. Amanda's been working on some stuff. Her and I are trying to get together because she's down in Georgia and I'm up here writing more. And I'm also doing. We're starting a cult TV where we're going to branch out and do some other things.
X-Files and
X-Files.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Eileen's doing X-Files, and actually, I'm going to start recapping The Alienist. That's going to be on TNT.
Oh.
What
It
is
starts January 22nd. It's The Alienist.
Oh.
It's Luke Evans and Dakota Fanning and Daniel Bruhl. And it's a book, but it's almost like a Sherlock Holmes with a
I
twist.
saw
Yes,
the trailer. It was
yes,
really
it looks
good.
really
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm going to start recapping that for
Nice.
25 years later on our cult TV. And-
Cool.
but yeah, we're gonna still theorize Twin Peaks. We're gonna take it to
I
the
like
next
your
level.
branching out. I like.
Yep.
I'll be reading X-Files stuff now. I know Ben and myself
yeah.
are huge
We both-
X-Files
yeah.
fans.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna to go home. We're gonna have to watch it.
And go into like we've been discussing. We discussed that last season. X-Files was all right. I'm hoping this one changes it up.
I
They
think
do
it's-
something different.
I think it will.
And X-Files, they did the whole cell phone thing. When Mulder's like, I don't know what a smartphone is. I'm like, come on, man. you existed for 20 years just because you haven't been on a show. Like, you don't know what a smartphone. Like, they
Yeah.
played it up too much. Like, I don't know what technology is. I thought that was kind of silly.
Right.
It didn't make any sense.
No.
It made no
But
sense.
I thought some of them were good. Like I liked the Lizard Man one.
No.
Some of the
It's a good
episodes
one.
were
The
really-
episodes are good. We just weren't too keen on the mythology.
Yeah,
Well, they said it's going to change up this season. So
Yeah.
I hope so. I felt like X-Files last season, and I loved it, but it felt like a band coming out of retirement and going on tour and just playing their hits.
Yeah.
They gave us what we wanted, not what we needed.
Right.
Lynch
Lynch
gave us what we needed, not what we wanted. And that's the difference.
Yes.
Right.
And Chris Carter, I hope he figured that out with
I hope
this
he
season.
did.
I think
hope
he did.
so.
I think he did.
Yeah.
And JC, I can't wait for you to do your podcast whenever
I
that
know.
comes out.
I'll definitely.
You
be
are a
reading one of
natural.
those.
It's been so good having
Yeah.
you
Thank
on.
you.
I don't even think we really needed to be here. We
Yeah,
could just given you the mic, and you could have
We could have went out to lunch, came back, you would have
Yeah,
been
you could
talking.
be our guest host.
I
We
will
take it-
come back anytime.
we
you
love to
want.
have you again.
Hey, now we
now
know.
that you know I'm so close,
Yeah,
you could be
right.
like, "Hey, we're going to do this."
If we ever need if one of us can't make
That's
it,
right. A
and
fill-in. I will fill
Right.
in.
we
yeah.
have an emergency fill-in.
You
We
do.
can
Or
hire
we can
you.
have just regular
Yeah.
times where we need, to talk about something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please
Yeah.
do. I will
Yeah,
definitely do that.
anytime. I mean, I'm sure we have 25 years later. You guys are always
Yeah,
on the
we
show
are.
anyway.
Yeah.
so
That's right.
Cool.
We're partnered up with 25 Years
That's
Later
right.
site. Do you want to plug your stuff? How can we find you?
You
and-
can go to 25 Years Later and go under JC Hotchkiss. You can click on the team and you can see all of us and then click on it and it will take you right to our articles. You can subscribe to us on Twitter. You could subscribe to the WordPress site that we have. Chad is a fan. John, I can never say John's last name right. No,
you're talking
Persulo.
about- yeah.
Chad.
From Twin Peaks.
From Twin
I
Peaks.
can't- I don't know.
Part out, but but
You
we
said it right.
Yeah, Chad, yeah.
He so down to earth, that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I
so nice.
Twitter back and forth for a while we were doing, and I said, hopefully one day I'll get to meet you. He goes, with this type of community, he goes, I bet you we'll meet each other someday.
We saw him at the airport. We're leaving. He's at the airport. He goes, hey. We had our Twin Peaks shirt. Hey, I had such a great time. He goes, I've never been part of something like this before.
Oh yeah, and I said to him, and now
Yeah.
you're part of the family, regardless
are.
of your being,
Yeah.
you know.
A jerk on the show, but
Yeah, but you're in real life, you're awesome, you know.
Have you been to a fest yet?
No,
You gotta
Andrew
go.
and I are talking about trying to get the crew to come out either this year to a fest or a Festival of Disruption. This year is in NYC. It is no
What?
longer.
How did I not know this?
Yes, it's in New York City. So
Oh
I'm
my
like,
God.
okay,
Wow.
so like
October,
that's
probably?
yeah.
Wow.
So we're gonna try because
This is breaking news.
we
for
gotta
me.
go.
yes,
Oh.
breaking news. I don't know. Yeah,
We didn't know this.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
we
saw it. They posted it on Twitter right after the other
Ben,
fest.
how much
Wow.
are tickets for this thing?
I don't know. We'll find out.
We'll make
we'll
it
go.
work. Yeah.
Maybe, you know what? We keep saying we're going to the UK Fest. I'm just going to save it for that.
All
Because-
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
close
do
it,
it because
yeah.
I mean, come on, it's Lynch. you
Because
know,
it's
and-
going to be here. I mean, the UK
be
Fest
We're gonna
maybe
do
next
this.
year.
We're gonna do this.
Yeah, that because it could be a pretty penny
So
for a ticket.
hopefully we'll have a whole. I mean, we're going to try to get the whole group of 25 years later, or most of us, to be able to go to something.
That'd be
That's what
awesome.
we're going to
Yeah,
try.
I think we're going to go.
Well, you guys are doing excellent work. I love reading your
Yeah,
stuff.
you guys
Thank
was
you.
amazing.
Thank you. Yes, and
Yeah.
we appreciate all the fans and the community that's totally embraced us. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's about,
fantastic.
Yeah, it's about ideas, and I love the
Yeah.
theories, and I love that's what I think Lynch has taught me, and I think a lot of fans. If you're a true fan of Lynch, you realize it. All opinions matter. I mean,
Yes.
they all make sense, and you don't have to like one. But if you don't, guess what? There's another
There's
one.
another
right
one
around-
right- yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
it's great.
Absolutely.
I love it, and I think that's what makes Twin Peaks so amazing. It's whatever you want it to be.
And you could also follow the Babes on Twitter. It's the Bookhouse at the Bookhouse Babes. You can follow
Yeah.
us on Twitter and stay tuned for more from the Babes as well. And at Saturdays, our column, look for that on 25 Years Later site. So yeah, you could find us everywhere. We're going to be everywhere. We're
Awesome.
going to take over the world with you
Love it.
guys.
Awesome,
Yes.
awesome.
Thank you, JC. So
Thank
let's
you.
wrap this up. Let's.
So you can get $2 off the Blue Rose magazine subscription for the year. Just to type in the code TPU at bluerosemag.com. The whole month of January. You can send us an email, twinpeaksunwrapped@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter, Twin Peaks Unwrapped. Like us on Facebook at Twin Peaks Unwrapped. And give us that 5-star review on iTunes. Leave us a comment. Subscribe. We're on Stitcher, Google Play, TeePublic. Check out our merchant store to support the podcast. And I think that's it. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
Do you want us to cut out?
And you see me, and I see you in the branches that blow.